Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Haris Atta and the topic of today's video is Introduction to Computer Programming. So as far as civil engineers are concerned, civil engineering curriculum is concerned, in civil engineering we study very basic level of computer programming, and I will be discussing more lectures about computer programming in future. So you can grab that course, Introduction to Computer Programming, through this channel. Okay, so moving ahead. So what is computer? In order to understand what is computer programming, one must understand what is computer. So all of us are familiar with computers nowadays, but we must understand the definition of computer before going ahead. So the computer is a device that receives input, processes it, stores it, and gives output as per given instructions. So any machines which governs or which fulfills all these four criteria: number one, receives input, processes it, stores it, and then gives output as per given instructions, is known as computer. A computer is any machine which fulfill these four criteria. Okay, so information we put in the computer is known as input, and then that input is processed by computer, then it stores that information and then gives you output. So what is computer program? We have understood what is computer, so now we should understand what is computer program. So the instructions given to the computer in order to perform a specific task is known as a computer program or set of given instructions. So in order to perform a specific task on a computer, we need some sort of job to be done by the computer. So we need to give information to the computer that, okay, you need to do this kind of work for me. So this is what we call computer program. Like a set of instructions given to the computer is known as computer program. So now we have understood computer, what is programming, what is program. Now we are going to understand what is programming. So the programming is a technique used to write different programs. So what is program? Set of given instructions. So the techniques employed by the user to write different kind of programs is known as programming. So now we have understood what is computer, what is program, and what is programming. So moving ahead, languages. Why languages are important? I ask you a simple question. Why languages are important? So majority of us know what language has to do in performing a specific task. For example, if I'm going to ask someone to do a specific task, and I will ask someone in the language in which he or she understands, then he or she will be able to execute that task. In the same way, computer understands certain specific languages. What is languages? The set of given instructions which is given to the computer, it understands in the form of language. So we need to identify, or we need to understand what languages do computer understand and how to communicate in that language with computer, because computer itself doesn't have any human brain. So we need to perform specific tasks and we need to ask computer to do some specific tasks. So in order to assign a task to the computer, we must understand what kind of languages computer understands. So in order to communicate with someone, we need to understand the mode of communication and language to speak. In the same way, computer understands certain languages, as I have already told you. So for the computer languages, we have two types of languages. The number one is low level language and the other one is high level language. So we will understand what is low level language. So low level language is easy to understand by the computer hardware but difficult for humans. So here is a mistake, sorry for that, it's a computer hardware. So it is easy to understand by the computer hardware but difficult for humans. There are two types of low level languages. One is machine language, which is also called binary language, which is 0-1 language, and mnemonics. Mnemonics is symbolic language. High level language. Words of English are used directly. So if we talk about low level language, machine language, there are some specific codes, specific tasks like zero, combination of zeros or ones, and in mnemonics we assign specific symbols and then the computer understands those symbols. Okay, but in high level language, words of English are used directly. For example, print F, we use different codes against different 0-1 combinations. So this level of language is easy to understand by humans but difficult to understand for the computer hardware system. So we can use specific words to perform specific tasks. For example, for the print F, we don't need to write some specific kind of code. We just write that command and the computer execute that command on the basis of the instructions given to you. So in the back end, the combination of 0 and 1 binary language works at the back end. We can use words of English directly. In this way, it becomes convenient for us to write that code or write that program for the computer. But at the back end, computer takes longer time to process it. For example, move, add, sub, push, pop, etc. We assign different words, English words to some specific codes, and then the computer at the back end perform that program and bring that solution for us. So up till now we have learned computer program, computer programming, types, languages and types of languages. Now we are going to understand what are language processors, how these languages are processed. So language processors are translators used to translate source code to machine understandable code or object code. As I have already discussed, like the computer understands specific code. So what we need to do is, for the high level language, we need to translate that specific English word to some specific code which is understood by the computer. The source code is the code provided by us humans, and the machine understandable code is object code. There are three types of language processors. The number one is assembler, number two is interpreter, number three is compiler. Assembler, language translator, assembly language code to machine understandable code, low level language. For low level language, assembler is used. Assembler is a language translator which translate assembly language code to machine language code. And the interpreter is used to translate high level language to machine understandable code, but on one instructions at a time. Sorry, it's not on, it's one. Interpreter is used for high level language. Compiler is also used for high level language, but assembler is used for low level language. But interpreter used to translate high level language to machine understandable code, but one instructions at a time. The compiler used to translate high level language to machine understand language, taking into program as a whole to perform a specific task. I will give you an example for that. If I ask someone to go to point B from point A through a car, okay, so what I will command him, what I will order him, okay, you have to reach the point B from point A. This is called compiler. I am going to tell him, I am giving him the instruction as a whole. But if I ask him to go to the point B through point A and go through a car, what I will say him, okay, you have to set up, you have to go out of the room, you have to open the door of the car, you have to sit on the driving seat, you have to press the clutch, you have to put first gear and then move. And then you have to take right turn, left turn, and then you will reach your destination. So I am telling him everything by parts, not as a program as a whole. What was my ultimate goal? He has to reach point B. But I'm giving him step-by-step guidance. So what interpreter do? Interpreter used to translate high-level language to machine understandable language, but one instruction at a time. But compiler translate the program as a whole. So what are errors? Errors are mistakes or bugs in a program. There are three types of errors. Number one, syntax error. Number three, runtime error. And number two, runtime error. And number three, logical error. Syntax error. What is syntax error? Rules and regulation of programming language is called syntax. So before understanding what is syntax error, we need to understand what is syntax. Syntax is basically rules and regulation of programming language. Like every language has some specific rules. If we talk about English, we talk about some specific grammatical rules. In the same way, languages which is understood by the computer have some specific rules and regulation. So the specific rules and regulation of computer programming is called syntax. Which words should be used, small letters or capital letters, etc. Spelling mistakes during compiling, this error occurs. During compiling, when the compiler is working, this error occurs. So which words should be used, which letter should be used, small letters or capital letters, this kind of mistakes, spelling mistakes, this covers by the, this lies in the syntax error region. So second one is runtime error. During execution, the error occur is called the runtime error. For example, if A is equal to 100 and B is equal to 0, and A over B won't execute. So if we divide 100 by 0, you know, through mathematical rules, it reaches infinity, which the solution is not possible. So here a lesson needs to be learnt by the user, like a program or a computer is used for your ease, not to do a task for you from 0 to by itself. So for that you need to make your basics strong, your mathematical rules, mathematical basics, make your basics strong, and then you will be able to execute a specific task from a computer. So whatever software available for you as a civil engineer, you must understand the basics. The third one is logical error. Error occurred due to some logical issue. For example, if I misspelled words like word hello, I need to write hello world, but I wrote word hello. So this, if the output comes like word hello, it's a logical error. The logic doesn't satisfy it. So this is called the logical error. If I write plus, but subtraction happens. If I wrote division but addition happens, in the same way, this kind of the error which is not satisfied by the logic, this is called logical error. So that was all for today's lecture. I hope you understood it, and in the coming lecture I will be covering some basic topics of computer programming, and I will be giving you some tutorials, and I hope you will learn from these lectures. Thank you. Bye bye.